Hi everyone, Chris from CK Cycles here. I thought that I wanted to do a quick little video here. A comment came up from my last post that sparked a little interest in my mind. I said, I think I need to check that out. So in my last video, I talked about getting, a replacement cylinder head and having a valve job done and getting it machined, and the valve surfaces or the gasket surfaces here have been machined clean, and it looks like the exhaust port was maybe beat blasted, intake was machined clean. But this is the surface that I want to talk about. So a comment after I posted that video said, hey Chris, you need to be careful and make sure that this surface that the camshaft cover mates up to does not get machined, because these portions right here of the cylinder head are used as bearing seats for the camshaft bearings, right? And so if this got machined, then it could have an impact on how deep these are, which then would have an impact on the ability for the cover to then also seat on those camshaft bearings. I don't know if I'm explaining this clear enough. I don't know if I'm doing a good enough job explaining this. And I thought, hey, that's a pretty good point, because I do not believe that this is a gasketed surface. I think that there is a little bit of sealer that is used between the cylinder head and the cylinder head cover to ensure an oil seal here, but it's not like there's a gasket here or anything. And I could foresee that if this surface was machined, that it could impact the depth of these ball bearing seats in the head, and thus your cylinder head cover would not fit very well. On top of that, the comment in the post said, I believe, the commenter said, I believe that the cylinder head and the cylinder head cover are machined together to make sure that those surfaces are the correct dimensions for the bearing for the camshaft to sit in. And so since they're a matched set, they kind of have to go together. And my intention was to use, this is a replacement cylinder head, and this is the original cylinder head cover. So that got me thinking even more, to think, okay, I'm pretty sure I know that this surface was not machined at the machine shop when the valve job was done. But is there going to be a problem if these are not a matched pair, if they were not machined together by the manufacturer? Is that going to be a problem with the seal? And is that going to be a problem with the ball bearing surfaces? So I thought that I would run a little bit of an experiment to see. So this is the camshaft out of the XT500, and it's got roller bearings here that the camshaft rolls in. And these surfaces, see if I can do it here in the camera, are seated right there, and then the cover comes on top. So what I'm planning to do is I'm going to take the original head out of this bike, the one that's all messed up, rusted up good. But this portion of the head is still pretty good. I'm going to take the original head, put the camshaft in it, put a little bit of plastic gauge on each of the bearing, tops of each bearing, and then torque the cylinder head cover down, pop it off, and to see what sort of clearance I'm getting on top of that, on top of these ball bearings. Then what I'm going to do is take my replacement head, put the camshaft in it, put the same amount of plastic gauge on top of the bearings, and then bolt down the original cylinder head cover, take that off, and see what sort of clearance I'm getting with the plastic gauge. So just a little bit of an experiment here. I looked in the manual and I did not see a specification for this clearance. If somebody out there is aware of what the oil clearance or the lubrication clearance should be on these bearings, please let me know. I didn't see anything specified, and I know that you can buy hopped up camshafts, and I believe you can buy replacement bearings, which means, to me, that means that there's got to be some give in the clearance that clamps these bearings down. You know, these bearings can sit still and the cam will still spin. So it's not like these are a rotational bearing surface, I believe. I'm not a mechanical engineer. I could be wrong. So I think that there probably is a little bit of a give there. Also, you know, this is just, it's got a little sealant on it, not a full gasket. And so all that, I think, plays into, there might be some give there, but still I would like to compare the two. The original head with the original camshaft and the original head cover, what does that plastic gauge come out to compared to the replacement head, the original camshaft, and the original head cover? Okay, so I'm going to do a couple of quick videos and just kind of show me setting up and getting these torqued down and what I find as far as the plastic gauge. So I hope I'm making sense. I don't do a good job at explaining these things, but hopefully you can kind of get the gist of what I'm trying to do to address that pretty interesting question that was brought up in a post after my last video. All right, let's go over to the bench and get some of this stuff torqued together and see what we find out. Okay, so this is the original cylinder head. I don't want to use my new cylinder head and clamp the old, or this is the original cylinder. I don't want to use the original cylinder. You know, I haven't cleaned up the gasket surfaces. I don't want to clamp the old head to the new cylinder, and I'm not going to use, you know, a brand new head gasket or anything like that, because I don't think that plays into this equation much at all. I am going to use just a little bit of cardboard here so that when I clamp my replacement cylinder head to the old cylinder here, you know, I'm not messing up that nice clean machine surface on the replacement cylinder head. I'm going to be using the smaller of the two plastic gauges I got. This one is the 0.025 to 0.076. And I'm going to get that set up here. Okay, so let me see if I can get the camera in here. The plastic gauge, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. There it is right there. And on the other one is the little green stuff. Click. 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 Okay. So now let's see what sort of clearance we have. Okay, so it looks like only one of the plastic gauges survived. The other one ended up in the oil channel here. That's okay. Don't want that to stay in there though and forget about it. Right between 0.038 and 0.025. Okay, so let's clean that off. Okay. Replacement cylinder head. Original camshaft. Plastic gauge. and original cylinder head cover. Okay, so I have the replacement cylinder head all torqued down with the original cylinder head cover, just like I did on all the originals. And so now I'm going to take it off and see what the plastic gauge says now, and I'm hoping that it's pretty much the same. There it is. Hey, and there's the plastic gauge. And it's looking pretty good. So let's see here. It's a smidgen wider than 0.038 and a smidgen smaller than 0.025. So from my reading here, I would say that the clearance is the same. No matter if I'm using the new cylinder replacement cylinder head with the original cam and the original cylinder head cover versus using the original cylinder head, original cam, and original cover. I do want to get this plastic gauge off here while I am remembering to do so. Okay, so this was by no means any sort of a, super duper tightly controlled scientific experiment. You know what I mean? This was just kind of a quick little check, just to kind of see if there was a difference and what that difference was. I'm not a mechanical engineer. I'm not a machinist or a professional engine builder or anything like that. But for the sake of this build, for the sake of satisfying me, I think that because the cam is held in with roller bearings and that those roller bearings can sit still and the cam can still spin within that roller bearing, and it doesn't look like there's any tighter clearance or any looser clearance if I use the replacement head. I guess I don't feel like that roller bearing's going to get swooshed out of circle and maybe go oblong and cause premature bearing failure and burn the head up. I guess it certainly could. I just checked one spot and it was the top of that roller bearing is where I put the plastic gauge. I guess it still could be oblong somewhere and cause some excessive wear on that bearing or excessive pressure somewhere. I'm not really sure, but for the sake of me and this is my personal bike and my personal engine, I think I'm pretty satisfied with that plastic gauge and satisfied that the clearance is the same, and I'm going to move ahead with building this engine with that replacement head. But I do want to say that was a very good comment that was posted during my last video, and it got me thinking. There's a lot of little things to take into consideration and a lot of little things to catch. And I certainly appreciated that question. More questions, the merrier. More questions, bring them. I'll try and figure them out and answer them for myself. So I appreciate that comment. I appreciated that question. And this was a fun exercise for me to go through. So, all right. Chris Kilmer here, signing off for CK Cycles. Have a good day.